Hi, my name is Tammy Hine, and I'm the owner of Tammy's Training Canine Services. Welcome to our podcast, where we provide you with dog training tips for busy families. Today's episode, we are discussing how to house train a puppy effectively. This can be a frustrating ordeal for busy families, or anyone really. Today's tips will help you learn how to effectively train your puppy in as little time as possible. Let's get started. House training is one of the most frustrating things for new puppy owners. So many people struggle with house training. It is one of the most common things we get called about when it comes to needing training help. House training a puppy is very similar to potty training a toddler. This is something I noticed when my daughter was in the potty training stages. Back then, I read a book that was titled How to Potty Train Your Child in 3 Days or Less. I found that if you replaced the toddler in the book with the puppy and the toy rewards with tasty treats, you could house train your puppy in 3 days or less. In fact, I have house trained a puppy in 3 days or less. Years ago, someone had contacted me feeling frustrated with their puppy. They had been trying to house train him for over a month, but he just didn't seem to be getting it. They were going away for a weekend and they didn't know what to do. The person that they had watching their house wasn't a dog person, and they felt guilty leaving them with an untrained puppy. So I took him for the weekend. They dropped him off Saturday morning, and by the time I dropped him off at their house on Monday, he would have been accident-free. No, this was not a trick. There was no voodoo magic. They got him back the following Monday, and even though he was accident-free for me for those 2 days, he still had the odd accident back at home that Monday. However, through the instructions I provided, they were able to get it up to speed, and he was accident-free again within 48 hours. They followed the steps exactly and worked with him consistently to get the results they wanted. How do we do it? How do we help a puppy whom we are struggling to communicate with become accident-free? How do we stop pulling our hair out? First thing you need to understand is that managing the environment is everything. There are ways to manipulate the environment to work with you instead of against you. By setting up the environment, your puppy is unable to have an undetected accident. You are setting yourself and your puppy up for success. Let me explain. Providing your puppy with an enclosed area is a must-have. It doesn't matter how you enclose them, as long as you're preventing your puppy from having the run of the house during this very important training time. This doesn't mean your puppy will never have the run of the house. You will not be house training your puppy for the next 10 years, will you? So many people get the mindset that everything you do now during the training is forever. No. Dogs who have the run of the house started out in crates, X-pens, and an enclosure of some kind. They had to learn how to behave in the house before they could get the privilege of being free to roam in the house. You can use a crate, an X-pen, an empty spare room, a dog run set up in the garage. It's completely up to you how you want to contain your puppy when you're unable to watch them. Another thing to keep in mind is an enclosure doesn't need to be forever. An X-pen or a crate are usually favored because they're temporary. Once your dog is trained, you don't need them anymore, so it's less work on your end to change the environment. Another nice thing about crate and X-Pens is they start out small, so there's less space for your dog to use one side as a bathroom and the other side as a bed. If your dog ends up laying in their own pee, they may decide they don't like it and will try harder not to pee or poop inside their enclosure. For some dogs, this may not be the case. For those dogs, you will need to try harder to prevent them from having accidents in their enclosure. Some ways to do this is to restrict water about 30 minutes before you put them in their enclosure. Make sure they get lots of opportunity to get outside. Take them for a walk or play with them in the backyard so that they have lots of time to empty that bladder. Try to measure the time that they are in the enclosure. Remember, young puppies have underdeveloped bladders. This means that they are unable to actually hold their bladder properly. If your puppy is 3 months old, you will need to give them a break from their enclosure at 4 hours' time. The rule of thumb is the number of months that they are plus 1. However, dogs' bodies are different. So if your puppy pees in the crate within that 4-hour period, you may have to reduce the time to 3 hours. Trial and error will help you to understand how long your puppy can physically hold their bladder. Once you understand the time frame that you have, you will need to find a way to get them breaks before they would typically have an accident. This may mean you need to find someone to pop by your house a few times a day while you're at work. A friend or a family member, a dog walker. Maybe see if your dog is able to go to the local doggy daycare where they can help with the potty training and giving your dog lots of exercise, socialization, and potty breaks. House training puppies takes a village, just like potty training toddlers. There is no shame in asking for help. At the same time, you are socializing your puppy with new people, so it's really a double whammy for him. He gets potty breaks when he needs them, and he gets to socialize with a new person or dog or environment. The first step to house training is consistency. If you consistently catch your puppy mid-accident and rush them outside, you are cementing the idea that peeing and pooping inside is not what you want. Your puppy will try harder not to go in the house. They may even start inventing ways to tell you when they have to go. This works the same way for puppies who pee in their crate. If you can get them outside before they have their accident in the crate, they will get used to sleeping in a clean environment, and they won't want to pee there anymore. When you are busy, even if it's just 30 seconds, put your puppy in their enclosure. This helps you to be consistent with catching them. Your puppy will always pee on the floor while you're having a 2-second shower. Always. If your puppy has an accident and they don't receive any consequences during the accident, your dog will learn they can go in the house as long as nobody is watching. If they do go in the house and you simply clean it up without intervening and rushing them outside, then your puppy will get the idea that it's okay for them to go in the house. It is not enough to say, "No, puppy." Your dog doesn't understand the word no yet. Even if you think they do, there is a huge chance they have no idea what you're talking about. Why? Dogs don't understand verbal language. Young puppies are still learning how to communicate with other puppies via body language, their first language. By throwing words at them without teaching them the meaning to the word first, you could be setting up confusion for your puppy. Have you ever been in a French class and suddenly your French teacher started speaking to you in Spanish? Wouldn't that be frustrating? This is what we do to our dogs every day. We expect them to just know what we want without first communicating to them in a way that they understand. We touch base about this topic in our book, Ways You Could Be Sabotaging Your Training and How to Fix Them. In Chapter 3, we discuss the difficulties of language barriers. We understand this between different cultures, people speaking different languages, which sometimes makes it frustrating to communicate. This is what it's like for dogs who are still learning how to communicate with us, especially young puppies, because most of the words we are using are new to them. Okay, I think we have covered the environment and consistency with catching them in the act. The second half of house training is making going outside more rewarding for them than going inside. If you have been listening to our other podcasts, you will know this already, but dogs navigate our world through associations. We have already established that we want accidents to have a negative association. What kind of association do we want them to have when they go outside? When we think about this, we have to keep in mind that the association isn't forever. It's just for training, to motivate your puppy to hold their bladder until they get outside, to motivate your puppy to tell you when they have to go. When you rush your puppy outside to go pee and they do pee and you do nothing, your puppy will think, that was anticlimactic. Oh, a leaf. However, what if you rush your puppy outside to go pee and they do pee and they get a piece of chicken? Puppy's going to be like, oh, I get a piece of chicken for peeing on this blade of grass? Let's do this again. Let's have it. They're going to want to do it. They're going to want to do it a lot more than peeing on your carpet. Make sure the reward that you're using, at least in the very, very beginning, is higher value. It's not enough to use their kibble because they get kibble all the time. This is why in my example I said a piece of chicken. How often are you giving your puppy chicken? Or leftover meat from supper? Or a small piece of sandwich meat? It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be something super expensive. It just needs to be small and something your puppy never gets. Dogs associate the sound of the food bag opening or a chip bag opening to being fed. So a foundation for clicker training, we associate food to the clicker. Once your dog understands that the clicker means something good is coming, you can use it in training. This takes repetition. What does this have to do with house training? House training is all about associations. You need to associate to your dog that accidents in the house are bad, so you rush him outside every time he has one. You need to associate going pee outside is good. So when your dog does pee outside, click for that. The click tells him, hey, I like that. Because you did that, you're now going to get a tasty reward. Congratulations. If you have taken the time to teach your puppy, click equals reward, and then you click every time your dog pees outside, well, he's going to start to learn that peeing outside is what you want. Peeing outside is way more motivating than peeing inside. These associations work together when you're house training. Manipulating the environment helps you to catch your puppy in the act of having an accident. Rushing your puppy outside every single time he attempts to have an accident cements the idea that having an accident inside is bad, while clicking and rewarding for going outside cements the idea that going outside is good. This is also the time to teach your dog to pee in one area of the yard if that is part of your expectations. When you're taking your puppy outside, take them only to that potty area, only to that one spot you want them to go. If you let them go all over the yard now and then decide to teach them to pee in one spot, you're going to have a lot harder time working through that later because they're already got this idea in their head that they're allowed to do those things. Whereas now, clean slate, you want to take them right to where you want them to be, click for that, reward for that. Teaching your dog to only pee in one area is very similar to teaching them to not pee in the house. When you're outside with your dog, keep an eye on them. If they go to pee outside of their potty area, rush them over to the potty area, click for them peeing there, and reward. And you'll find your dog will start going to the potty area on their own every time. I get that everything we've discussed can be overwhelming. However, if you can take one day at home to focus on house training, and you can include the kids if they are interested, you can cement the expectation into their head pretty quickly. Dogs are very smart. The hard part of training is expanding their environment once they understand what it is you want. You can't take their expect or create away the second they show the understanding of your expectations. That is too overwhelming for them. What you can do is increase the amount of space your puppy has slowly. If they continue to be accident-free, increase their space some more. If they have an accident, decrease their space. They just weren't ready for that yet, and that's okay. So what about when your puppy is outside of his enclosure? When you and your family are able to watch him like a hawk and catch him if he has an accident, you can have him outside of his enclosure. However, still prevent him from getting too far away from you. This may mean you will need to move the X-Pen to barricade him to only one part of the house with you, or leash him and have someone hold the leash so he is always within reach if he has an accident. Take him outside lots. The more chances he has to be outside, the more times he will successfully pee outside with motivating consequences. The less accidents he will have inside. If you're playing outside with your kids, keep your clicker handy. If he pees, click, then go to the house to get him a treat. You do not have to have the treat with you the second he pees. That's too stressful, especially with kids. The click will tell him, yes, I like that. Since he already knows the click is reward, he will know why he got the reward because he peed outside. The more often he gets rewarded for peeing outside, the more he's going to want to pee outside. Okay, so now we've covered how to manage the environment and how to effectively communicate to your puppy what your expectations are. How do you get the family involved? How can we make it easier for families with younger kids to house train the puppy? This is a struggle for most families, especially with toddlers or young babies. As parents, we are already being pulled in all directions. Life is stressful enough. How do we manage house training a young puppy and keep our sanity in check while taking care of kids and all the things that come with that? Most young kids want to be involved with what you're doing. However, a lot of the time, they are too young to be able to handle it. That isn't the case with puppy training. Kids as young as 2 years old can handle a clicker or throw a treat. So discuss with your child what their job is going to be. Some kids will take this very seriously and won't let you forget to give them the clicker when it's time for them to click. You will still need to be the one that picks up the puppy and rushes them outside, but as your puppy is peeing, hand the clicker to your child. Then, when the puppy is done, play the racing game back inside, get the puppy a treat. Hand the treat to the child and have him throw it so the puppy has to run to get it. If you have multiple kids who want to be involved, have them take turns with the different jobs. This will help the puppy to learn to listen to them, while at the same time helping your kids learn how to communicate with your puppy. Kids are also very good at tattling. If you are playing out inside, let the kids know that the first person to tell you the puppy is getting ready to pee on the floor gets to be the clicker person. This method can backfire if it's always the same child catching the puppy in the act, though. If your kids are not interested in playing the house training game, then it can be harder. Discuss with your child that they will need to be extra patient for the next little while. Make intervening with accidents a priority. Unless your child is in immediate danger, even if they're upset, you can probably wait a minute or two. This sounds harsh, but something's gotta give somewhere, right? It's never too early to teach your kids patience. Try not to feel guilty if you have to let your kid cry for a few minutes while you deal with the puppy. This isn't forever, and the more consistent you can get with the puppy, the less time it will take to house train, which gives you more time later to pivot your focus back on the kids. If your child is in immediate danger, pivot and get to them first. Safety takes priority over consistency. So when it comes to this, use your best judgment and be kind to yourself. Lastly, use your village. Rally up some friends and family who will be willing to take the kids to the park for the morning so you can focus on the puppy. Or see if a friend could focus on the puppy while you focus on your child. Use your own judgment here as well. It's important to make sure that your child is getting some one-on-one time with you, even though you're busy house training. This is where some kind of enclosure is a godsend. You can put the puppy in their enclosure and spend some time just focusing on your kids. Remember, your puppy can be in their enclosure for up to 3 to 4 hours at a time. They will be fine in their enclosure alone a few times a day. In fact, it's actually good for your puppy to learn how to be alone, and now is the best time to teach them. If your puppy whines when left alone, this could be due to hyperattachment. Hyperattachment can lead to separation anxiety down the road. So even if your puppy is whining in their enclosure, it is important to give them that time alone. Give them something to occupy their time while they are in there. Put their meal in a Kong so they have to work to get it out. Put a snuffle mat in there and spread their meal on it so they have to sniff through it to find their food. This will occupy their time, burn some mental energy, and give you time away from your puppy to deal with other things, like kids, cleaning, cooking, or taking a shower. Quick recap before we wrap up the podcast. It's already been pretty long already. To start, manipulate the environment so that your puppy cannot have an undetected accident in the house. Rush your dog outside every time he has an accident. Intervene, catch him in the act. Click and reward for every time your puppy pees or poops outside. Get your kids involved in some way, having them helping with the clicker, having them helping toss the treats, or even just having them help you catch the puppy in the act. Getting them involved does make it a family activity, and it does help them feel like they're part of something. At the end of the day, don't forget to be kind to yourself. You are doing the best that you can in the situation that you are in. If you keep it up, you will find a routine that works for all of you. Your puppy will get house trained. Your kids will learn to pick up after themselves. You will not have to clean up pee and poop and dirty diapers forever. This is just right now. Enjoy your paradise with the cuteness overload. The messiness will not last. You got this. Enjoy our podcast? If you are listening to this on a platform that allows you to like and subscribe, please do so. This helps more people to see it. If not, share your podcast. If not, share our podcast with someone whom you feel would benefit from it. In our next episode, we will discuss dealing with chewing and mouthing. Until then, don't forget to do something today to refill your cup and be kind to yourself.